Now, the National Education Collaboration Trust, or NECT, in partnership with Education DialogueSA, will be hosting a National Public Policy Symposium on basic education today. Participating in the symposium are various stakeholders from civil society, school governing bodies, as well as the Basic Education Department. To tell us more about the symposium, we're joined in studio by Godwin Khoza, who is the CEO of NECT. Godwin, good to have you. Thanks for coming into Morning Live.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
This is actually this is a very big step for you, because as you were telling me a bit earlier, there are a lot of symposiums that are held annually, but never on policy. So this is the first time that you've actually been allowed into the policy space.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, society organizes itself through policy. So the state, you know, gets to effect development through policy. So it's important that the broader public is involved in setting up that policy, you know, various, you know, sorts of policy, particularly in education. We haven't had a similar get-together to discuss policy since the mid-90s.
Yeah.
Policy get, you know, tweaked and revised on an ongoing basis, but we haven't had a process, you know, forecast and targeted process that's led by evidence to look at how policy has performed in the past 20 years and what kind of education policy and what kind of a learner and a teacher and a system we want to have going forward.
Yeah. Let's get a better understanding as to what it is that the National Education Collaboration Trust, or NECT, actually does.
Yeah. So the National Education Collaboration Trust was set up in 2013 following the promulgation of the National Development Plan. So business, government, labor and civil society got together to agree on how to work together to implement Chapter 9 of the National Development Plan. And ever since then, we've been hard at work. I must tell you that, you know, beginning of this year, we got to 30% of the schooling system.
Yeah.
So that's quite significant.
Yeah.
It has never happened, you know, through a collaboration of these four key, you know, players. We're looking at going to about 2/3 of the schools by the end of the year, beginning of 2018, and we have some programs that are aimed at really turning our education system, you know, around.
Yeah. If we look at the education system as a whole, and a lot of people have many issues and things that they'd like to see change. Let's bring you into the equation now. Where do you think the biggest change needs to take place? Where are we falling and dropping the ball?
So the biggest change has to be in the classroom. Our kids will do better and will be better prepared for the future and to participate in the global economy if they are taught, you know, what's expected in their curriculum, the right pace, at the right pitch, and the right sequencing.
Yeah.
So that requires a teacher who knows how to prepare, how to deliver the content in the right pitch, and it requires a parent who supports, you know, that process in the classroom, as well as school management system and the education system that knows exactly how to support that process. So that's how the NECT engages with the system. So we start from the classroom and say, what is it that has to happen in the classroom in order to see better results? Who else has to engage in that process? How do we support that? Because, you know, learning extends from the classroom into the household and into the community.
It certainly does. And I mean, we see our education system, and many people have described it as it being in a crisis. And that's a very big worry, because, I mean, you know, the basic starting point of any country and the development of any country is a good education system. Yeah. And our education system is failing our children. So a lot of things have to be done. When we talk policy, are there any issues that you'd like to see, or any policy changes that you'd like to see being implemented?
Yeah, so the range of policies that drive education, right from, you know, policies that determine how we produce teachers, you know, how we place them, how we maintain them when they're in the system, and how we actually make them perform, you know, as expected. So there's a whole host of, you know, policy provisions that we're looking at, and we'd like to tweak those so that teachers can perform better or teaching can be done better. There's also policies on resourcing. Yeah. So it's a big area. And that will extend, or rather cover, issues such as, you know, how do we allocate, you know, funding to schools, to provinces, to districts, with different, contextual and population dynamics, geographical dynamics. I'll give you an example, for instance. Look at Gauteng. In 1 year, it had an influx of learners. So in that case, how do we quickly shift the resources to follow these kids? If you look at the Eastern Cape, it's deeply rural. To get to a school, it's probably twice as expensive as getting to a school from a Gauteng department. So we're looking at those, dynamics. There are also issues of, the curriculum.
Yeah.
And key to the issues of curriculum are what kind of learners do we want to produce, and what kind of future citizens who will be able to compete globally do we want to produce? We need to extend the vision of education. We're looking at what sort of 21st century skills we have to be giving to our kids. What are the implications of the kind of teacher that we produce, and so on and so forth.
Yeah. There's a lot to be discussed. Now, I know that the Education Minister is going to be in attendance, which is it's a great thing. Obviously, you do need her there. The presence of having her there, and also things to expect from her. What do you believe will come out of the minister?
I think it's important, and I mean, she has come out to say that today is a day to listen and not to tell anybody.
Yeah.
So to have about 280 people from the various stakeholders, and by the way, we've done some preparatory work that involved 15 experts going out to review policy and to present options, first to identify policy issues and present options as well as recommendations. Today, they're going to present those options and recommendations to a much bigger group of people who come from various corners of the country to further discuss these options and to endorse specific recommendations that have to be made through to the department in as far as policy is concerned. So it's important that the minister is there, that she gets it from, she gets it firsthand, and obviously engage with people and viewpoints that people have. The interesting part, Leanne, is that you will have in the same room a professor in education with a school governing body member and a teacher, and all of them will be able to express issues and viewpoints in as far as policy is concerned.
Yeah.
So I mean, there won't be a better opportunity for a minister to engage with her stakeholders than we have this morning.
It really is, and I think it's an absolutely fantastic platform for everybody in the schooling system to voice their opinions. Let's hope it's in a controlled environment and people don't get too emotional, because sometimes you see these things flying off the rails and we don't get anywhere with them. And have you got a lot of sort of controls in place that everybody will be able to have their say? No,
absolutely. I mean, the fact that we've spent 4 to 6 weeks preparing, and by the way, we got the best experts in the sector to look at policy first.
Good.
So in that sense, I mean, it's quite methodical. And secondly, in the process that we're going through today, we've got some scholars from the HSRC leading with inputs, and following that, we're going to take people into commissions. And it's a led, guided process, and we'll be able to capture the sentiments from the conversations and produce a document on policy recommendations.
So this starts today. When is it expected to close up?
So we're very efficient.
Yeah? All going to be ending today?
We start at 8:30 and we're done by 16:30.
All right. Well, listen, I got to invite you back in to find out what came out of this, and if in fact there will be any policy changes, because if it's going to happen, this is the place that it'll be discussed, and those things will be taken back to those levels that are needed to make these policy adjustments.
Absolutely. How like that? There are some significant recommendations that are in the pipeline.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. We're happy to hear that. Thank you very much for being with us. Godwin Khoza, CEO of the National Education Collaboration Trust. My tongue is still sleeping this morning. And they're talking to us about this National Public Policy Symposium on basic education. It's a first of its kind, and we're looking very, very forward to this outcomes.